K.A. Carter Durdention picked this one out, Uncle Bill. And he specifically asked, baby, for a special guest to be on here. So we welcoming Rambo Rafter Life, Matt. We got to talk about some Kevin Smith tonight, man. It's going to be, I think it'll be fun. How are you doing?
The first thing we talk about is that Ozzy doing Run Up That Hill.
Hey, hell was that?
Kind of.
Oh my god!
Yeah. What kind of world are we in, boss?
Jesus Christ!
So I'm curious, man. Like, how do you feel about the fact that somebody just basically wanted to torture the hell out of you tonight? There's no other reason for you to do this.
Well, I was thinking,
man. Thanks to him, I resaw Yoda Hoser, so he owes me something.
Yeah, well, it's only fair. Okay, so since Deadpit got paid kind of for this, you do requests. So if somebody pays you a certain request that involves Deadpit, we are down.
Sounds good to me.
So that makes it kind of fair, I guess.
Make it a good movie.
As long as it's not like Jeepers Creepers 3 again, or no, that was Jeepers Creepers 4. Jeepers Creepers Reborn. We'll give him any more ideas, but we already did.
It's funny. I just got requested. I just got a request to review Jeepers Creepers 3. I just watched that 2 days ago.
Man, I'm sorry. I feel bad about that.
Oh my god! Where his car is like Batman's car.
You have
dropping bombs and
interesting
javelins.
Requests on pretty much a weekly basis on your channel, like stuff that I'm saying, like, God bless bulls, like.
Oh yeah, Monstered was a classic.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that song, Matt? Number two.
Smells like poop.
The fact that people took like 2 years to make that movie, I'm like, wow, one life wasted making that movie.
Well, I'm sure
somewhere in the bowels of storage, I've got like a signed poster from like everybody that was in that film, the directors and everything. That was a film that came out right when we were doing, like, we were writing to people and doing autographs and things like that. Like, I've got. Like,
did we review that movie back in the day?
Yeah.
I think we've seen it. Yeah, I can't remember, but they had, if I'm not mistaken, now I think that this was the movie. They had Monster chocolate bars that had the Monster logo on it, and it was they sent us a wrapper, I think, and signed it or something, right?
They had a whole promo thing going on for that movie.
But anyway, tonight's
waste of money. Waste of money.
It really was.
Congrats.
We are doing a little bit of a different sort of show tonight because this doesn't really involve horror movies at all. I mean, technically, I think maybe a couple of these movies would be considered kind of horror movies. I don't know. But interestingly enough, as long as we've been doing the Deadpit show, we have never discussed these Kevin Smith movies. The only one that I could find that we talked about briefly was after I watched Tusk, and I talked about it on a show. All these other movies, I don't think we ever discussed, Uncle Bill, in the long history of doing the show.
I'll tell you, when I was getting ready for this show, I was like, I should probably like go find some Blu-rays of his, so I can show them when we were doing it. I don't own a single Blu-ray of any of his films. Everything that I've got's on DVD, and none of it's like, I don't own anything like. I just think it's because I don't buy comedies on Blu-ray either, though. Like, and that's the majority of his films. Like, I just don't have anything.
Odd you mention that because, interestingly enough, I think I own almost everything up to a point that he did on Blu-ray. Now, there's a couple that I still just have on DVD, but it's unusual how many of his movies that I have on Blu-ray. Like, I was kind of surprised by that because I like his stuff, but I'm definitely not a mega fan of Kevin Smith and the View Askew universe, or whatever the hell they call it.
The View Askew, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on it. My thing is horror movies typically, but I do like the movies. and we're going to go through them and touch on each one of them, bulls, because I went back, the ones that I had never seen, I watched them all, pretty much all the way through, aside from one that I just couldn't. I was like, nope, can't do it.
I know which one that is.
In fact, that is the one that I just was like, I might as well throw this away. This thing is going in the garbage because I'm never going to watch it again. There's no point in me having it. I wasted $1 at Dollar Tree on it. Not even worth $1. So I threw that one in the trash. But the rest of them I still have here. So, but we're going to talk about them, I guess, in chronological order. You guys want to get started? You want to do a bit of a roll call? We got a ton of people in here, already over 100 people in the chat.
I mean, I don't think I can keep up with like because it's going pretty fast, but I'll give you an idea just to name some people that are in here. The mayor's in here, Carter Dedention, Bobby Yaga, Sean 420, Saturn Video, Mid-Level Media's in here.
Oh yeah.
Nikki B, the Bog Zombie, Victor Benacourt, Crater's in here, boys. Holy shit.
The man they call Crater. It's Crater time. Crater time.
Attention fan. Yeah, that's about what I got.
Yeah. And also, on the community tab on the Deadpit YouTube page, have a poll up. It's been up for almost about a week and a half, 2 weeks or so. And the deal with that is that I asked you guys what you thought the worst Kevin Smith movie was. So I guess we'll remind me towards the end of the show and we'll get the final tally on that. Last I checked, over 200 and some people had voted. So that's pretty damn cool. So
that's an easy one too. That's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah. So after we get done with all these movies, we're going to see which one the fans voted the worst Kevin Smith movie.
So I guess
that's funny. This guy says the kid from Sleepaway Camp, Ricky, I guess he's not a fan of Kevin Smith and called him a hack. There you go.
Well, that's the thing.
Sleepaway Camp was crapping on you.
It's really for the past probably 10 years been pretty popular to call Kevin Smith a hack. Mm-hmm. So much to the point that he kind of like brings it up. And to be honest with you, like there was a whole string of movies that he made leading up to now that would probably lead anybody to believe that he was a hack. But going back and doing this, filmography, there was a period of time, a pretty good chunk of time, where he made some really good films. And I mean, they're not like, he was never an expert like cinematographer or anything like that. They're not those kind of films.
He wasn't a visual director. He was a good writer, though.
Yeah,
he knew how to handle his characters early on.
Yeah,
he was.
I would say it's one of the rare exceptions where the script was the star of most of these movies, right? The dialogue.
I'll tell you something else he did really well too in the beginning is casting. He cast these people into like perfect kind of parts for their strengths, but like that I think completely fell apart when he went to Hollywood. Like the people that he cast in those later movies was just god awful. But in the beginning, probably the first 10 years, it was pretty spot on, man.
Yeah, he kind of had like a repertory group of actors that he kept. I guess they went to film school together. I mean, I don't know the story there, if they all knew each other from just that community in New Jersey, is making movies or whatever.
I know he and Scott Mosier knew each other from film school. They briefly went to film school together.
Yep.
And then Jason Mewes was just a kid that hung around them all the time. That was kind of like in the area where he worked and everything. And he just thought he was funny because he just talked that way. He kind of talked the same way as like the character, in terms of the shit that he said. So he cast him in those movies. Those are the ones that I know of for sure. Like I don't know about like all the other ones or anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, he had a local casting for Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson. And the original idea was that Kevin Smith was going to play the Jeff Anderson role, a Randall. But he said, there's too many lines. I can't remember them all. I'll just play the silent guy because I got to direct this people. So that he cast Jeff Anderson. And that was from like a local casting. They just had auditions.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that leads us up to Clerks, which was his debut movie, writer, director, editor, and producer. This movie was made for like $1.50, man. I mean,
Yeah.
when did you guys, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Uncle Bill was the one that maybe introduced me to this movie. And it was a few years later. Like, it wasn't, like, I think I vaguely remember the videotape in the store, but not really knowing what it was. Do you guys remember your introduction to Clerks, how long ago it was when you first saw it?
Yeah. I mean, I can remember like watching it because at that time he was kind of like, this movie came out of nowhere and it was hailed as like, the next coming of, I don't know even who you would compare like it to, but all, these indie film directors were getting like immensely popular. And he was like one of the first ones besides that. What is that one guy that did Slackers?
Richard Linklater.
Richard Linklater. Yeah. So in that same kind of vibe was here, Kevin Smith came along, and I remember watching the movie, and it was really the first movie that I can remember watching where I was kind of like mesmerized by the dialogue completely. Like, I just thought it was one of the funniest fucking movies, especially the shit with Jay and Silent Bob. That's kind of gotten to the point where it's like, it's got go away heat now just because everybody's tired of it. But back at that time, that was a fucking hilarious concept. That the one guy never talks and the other guy never shuts up, and the shit that he says is just like crazy off
Disgusting.
the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to have it filmed in black and white like that, and just the way that he told the story too, I just remember being fascinated by it, and then eventually like started watching all of his films. And this would have been, when did Clerks come out?
94.
94. So this would have been probably, I'm gonna say 96 or 97, probably. Like sometime when we were like later on in high school. Not to give away our age or anything, but like, yeah.
So, yeah, my first copy that I actually purchased of Clerks, I no longer have, is a Laserdisc. But I think when we first watched it, you may have brought the VHS tape up there or something like that. But this is one. I'm going to start pulling these out whenever we talk about the movies. I do have the Blu-ray of Clerks, which it's one of those movies that, does it really benefit from even a Blu-ray? I don't know. I mean, it's black and white. It's very well, I think it's very well made though, and put together and edited and everything. What's interesting though is that the character, Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson, those two guys, I am shocked that they weren't really best friends, because the chemistry that those two had together is partially what made that movie. I mean, those guys, you would not think that they were acting. And this is,
I don't think they really were. I don't think
this
they knew
is
how
a
to act.
lot of dialogue. I mean, if you go back and watch these scenes, this is a lot of freaking dialogue.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, 1994, interesting time for movies, because if I'm not mistaken, Pulp Fiction came out that same year, right? And it was another kind of independent movie.
That's what I was getting ready to say, because we had talked about this before, that there was a period of time, a very short period of time, I think probably from 92 to around 97, something like that, where I feel like Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino were like side by side in terms of people. Like, saying that this is the new generation of filmmakers. And then, Tarantino just took it and fucking went with it. And Kevin Smith just, a lot of really unlucky things happened to Kevin Smith, as well as like a lot of bad decisions that I think played a role in him kind of being where he's at now, and Tarantino being where he's at now. But I mean, I'm sure he's fine, Kevin Smith, with like his place and all this, but it fascinates me to no end that at one point in time, like, they were considered on the same level, like in terms of the,
Right.
I don't think that's the case anymore.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know how long you guys want to spend on each of these movies, because there's a lot of these movies to talk about, but everybody universally loves Clerks, really. I mean, if it's your sort of movie, like, the common person, I don't know, like a housewife or something, probably not going to get into this sort of movie. But overall, if you like these kind of movies, everybody loves Clerks. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah,
it's hard not to. Yeah.
Yeah, the simplicity of it, and it's one of those things that's in a weird way relatable. I think anybody who has any type of job, whether retail or not, either part of you wanted to say stuff like this, or you wanted to have conversations like this, or you did have conversations like this.
Right.
Maybe you did have, guys dying in your bathroom from a hard-on or with a hard-on. Maybe.
Well, I think some of these stories were loosely based on real life experiences, like the fucking guy looking for the perfect dozen eggs or whatever. I mean, it does sound like characters that you would see in, these convenience stores or gas stations, or, just regulars that see these weirdos. Interestingly enough, though, one of the big things, because I had the laser disc was like the best quality copy you could get forever and ever. Like, I don't know what took the DVD so long to come out, but it was one of those that didn't come out until like 2004, 2005, something like that. So I remember watching the Laserdisc a few times before I ended up getting the DVD. And they had deleted scenes on the Laserdisc. And I remember the deleted scene, well, I guess the alternate ending that they had. So Kevin Smith has been trying to fucking kill off Dante since the beginning, really.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
He succeeded.
I think, somebody said it perfectly, though. It's kind of like it was the perfect independent film at the perfect time, really. And somebody else earlier said, who can't relate to that movie in some way or another? Like, being at a point in your life where you're either working a dead end job that you fucking hate, or that you're trying to make a decision about, like, if you want to keep staying in the same place or move on, or like what the hell you're, doing with your life, really. And just that mixed with the rapid fire dialogue, and just, to me, Jeff Anderson is that fucking movie. I mean, like, he's the reason why I go back and watch that movie, really. Just his amazing comedic timing. He's got the best lines, like you said, because that was supposed to be Kevin Smith.
Right.
He's just the best character in the movie to me.
Well, that character exists for real back in the video store days, though, because most of the time at these video stores were these asshole clerk, like, smart asses that would kind of like make fun of anything that you rented or whatever. The sort of guys that kept me away from seeing Halloween 3 for many, many years.
Yeah.
Right? Because they would bitch about it. Oh, that movie's stupid, man. You don't want to see that. So it takes you back to the mid 90s video store eras. Damn. I mean, it's hard to believe that's, what is that now? That's 30 years ago. 30-year anniversary this year.
Well, you think, though, like, who didn't know somebody like that at one of those stores that was like, an elitist kind of movie guy that was kind of, a prick about
I almost
stuff.
was one of those guys, because I worked at a video store for a couple of years called Mr. Movies. So I almost was one of those guys.
So there you go. Yeah. There you go.
I mean, yeah.
Would you like some making fuck Berserker?
Anytime anybody says anything with Berserker, that song immediately plays in my head, man. Like, it just does. Like, it is an infinitely quotable fucking movie. Like, there's pretty much every line of dialogue in that movie you can quote.
And Dante's girlfriend sucking on,
Yeah. 36 dicks in a row?
Yep.
Finding that out, in a row.
My favorite scene, though, in the movie is when Randall's reading off all the titles of, like, the porn that he's getting in, and that.
Yeah, in front of this woman with a little kid. Oh, shit.
I would say my favorite bit, I can't say the dialogue, but Jay Muse, one of the last things, because at first he's trying to be nice to Dante, and then he just goes, "Fuck this place, you cock smoker." He's like, he just trying to help him, and then he just yells at him and leaves.
Come on, Halloween. Yeah, that was one of the titles. Somebody posted that. Oh God.
They
I
used
probably first found Kevin. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was going to say that they used like, and I'm not certain on that. I'm not an expert on this band, but there's like an Alice in Chains song in this movie. Was this before Alice in Chains was like a big band, or like 90? I don't remember. I don't
92 would the
recall that.
grunge thing would have been. I don't know though, man. Because Alice in
And Soul
Chains.
Asylum.
Curious how they got some of these songs in the movie. I mean, it may have been after it got picked up by a big
It
studio or
was.
something. Oh, okay.
I think was a maybe it was Miramax, but they put the songs after it to try to, and then that was part of the marketing is soundtrack. This is when people
Yeah.
cared about soundtracks back in the
Oh,
day.
yeah.
I mean, when was the last movie than Guardians of the Galaxy? But I'm like other actual movies that they talk about the soundtrack or they market it. Very rare nowadays. That's kind of a
Oh,
lost
no.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, back in the 90s, man, that became like a huge thing too, though. Like there was a ton of movies where like the soundtrack was almost the most important thing. Like Armageddon, you'd have one big fucking song or a couple big songs that would like, that would almost sell the movie in some
Right.
ways. Like
Ga-
Terminator
Gangsta's
2 is another.
Paradise. People know that song more than Dangerous Minds. I dare anyone to remember a plot point in Dangerous Minds, but you remember Gangsta's Paradise.
Oh yeah. From what was that movie with Michelle? Dangerous Minds, you said.
Yeah. You
Dangerous
remember the
Minds,
song, you don't remember the movie. Yeah.
No.
Carter Dention with the $5 super chat. Thank you, boss. Silent Bob talking at the end was such a legit, great, and surprising moment in the movie. Yeah, that become Silent Bob's gimmick there.
Yeah. And that, the first time it happened, you were like, I can remember really being like stoked about these characters at that time. Like just about how new and kind of fresh that all was. And now it's like, you watch, like I watched the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and I'm like,
Dude, the sad thing is the Jay and Silent Bob reboot is nowhere near close to the worst movie that he ever did.
oh.
In fact, it's probably the best of the last batch of movies that he did.
You're right, but it does, like, if you look at those characters in that movie and then you go back and look at them in like Clerks and Mallrats and stuff like that, you're like, I can't even believe that this is.
I kept watching for Jason Mewes' teeth to fall out like the whole time.
That's tough to watch, man.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Clerks, everybody loves Clerks. Yeah, we've got a ton of movies to get to. So the next one up was, and look here, the Arrow edition from the Goodwill on Blu-ray disc, Mallrats, which I've always been a pretty big fan of this movie, but I think the reason why is the atmosphere. And I think, Matt, you and I were talking about this last week. I mean, it's a fun movie. I like the movie. But 90s malls, man, the shopping malls in the 90s, there was nothing like them because there's so many like now, if I go into a mall, okay, FYE, I'll probably go in there and look around if there's an FYE in the mall. Spencer's Gifts. That's it. Malls don't have music stores anymore. They don't have any of the toy stores anymore, bookstores anymore, any of that shit.
Yep.
Maybe Sabaro's Pizza sometimes in a food court, but this takes you back there, if only for a day. 1995 Mallrats, his follow-up. And what do you guys think about this one? Because this is kind of, I think fans overall are kind of mixed on this one. You either love it or you hate it seems like, with the hardcore Kevin Smith fans.
That was my first introduction to him. Because, long story short, the reason I heard about Kevin Smith is my brother's girlfriend at the time, who later became his wife, was a fan of Kevin Smith. And I had overheard my mom asking my brother, hey, what does your girlfriend want for Christmas? Oh, she wants Kevin Smith movies. I'm like, who the hell is Kevin Smith? And this was about 97, 98. Mm-hmm. At one point, it was an original store called Shopco. And there was a VHS tape of a movie called Mallrats. And honestly, it was like, oh, I love malls. That's why I like Dawn of the Dead. So this is what this movie is. And like you said, it was. I like Jason Lee. I like seeing people like Michael Rooker, who looks like Lex Luthor, and it was the whole mall atmosphere. That was because where I lived, honestly, there wasn't really much malls to begin with, except one that was a dinky one. So it was like me living vicariously through the characters and where we spending the day with them. And the film didn't do well. The critics hated it. It flopped. I know there was talk of like Kevin Smith wanted to be a raunchier movie. Universal wanted to be a bit of a cleaner movie. So there's a bit of a back and forth. But I always enjoyed it. I think it's a fun one. It's definitely a goofier movie than Clerks. I think some people were turned off by that, but I thought it was a nice. It didn't. It was kind of similar people in one location spouting pop culture, but it didn't feel like a carbon copy either. So I always enjoyed Mallrats. I think it's a fun one.
I fucking hated this movie when it came out. I don't know why. Looking back on it, I'm not entirely sure why now, because I guess maybe it was because I felt like it was like an inferior version of Clerks. Like it was basically the same movie in a mall that would just seem like it was just copying that whole format or something. And probably the biggest reason I didn't like this movie, if I'm being honest, was I fucking cannot stand the guy. I think his name is Jeremy London.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like one of the main characters in the film. He plays Quint, I think, in it. I just couldn't fucking stand it. I couldn't stand his performance. I couldn't stand him. Like, and from what I understand, wasn't he like high off his ass or something the entire time he was making this movie? And like,
he's got didn't he have a twin brother that also acts? Because
Jason
I get those two mixed up, in what movies, they're in or whatever. One thing that I was curious about, maybe Matt, you know about this. So Kevin Smith, like we were saying earlier, he has like almost like a repertory group of actors that he goes back to and reuses, and there's cameos and everything. Jeremy London, no. I don't think he's ever been in anything else except Mallrats. Do you know if there was some sort of issue with him working on the movie?
That's what I was thinking. Was there not, Matt? It seems like he had a really hard time with that guy, from what I can remember. Somebody in the chat is bound to know too.
I didn't hear anything about that.
I don't know if it was for getting dialogue or showing up late. There was something about that whole situation.
He was a fuck up.
Yeah, Kevin says he was usually in his trailer smoking weed all the time. Yeah, so like it comes across because it's just a horrible performance. But I think looking back on this movie now, like this is where you get introduced to some of the characters too that would like become like reoccurring characters. Jason Lee's fucking amazing in this movie. That's probably the best part of the film to me as Brody, and he's in like a ton of these View Askew movies. He just keeps coming back as a reoccurring character. But
yeah, because he was in a film before this called Drawing Flies, which is about a bunch of kids looking for Bigfoot, and Kevin Smith had produced it, and he really liked Jason Lee's performance in that, and that got him cast in this movie. And it's a very, very little independent film, interesting film, but he produced that one.
You've also got Priscilla Barnes with 3 nipples in this movie. I always kind of remembered that. For some reason, I kept thinking it was Barbara Eaton, but it's Priscilla Barnes. I don't know. It's been a while since I'd seen this one. You also get a shot of Joey Lauren Adams, her young breasticles, and
yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob are back. So basically, I mean, it's just the entire movie takes place in this mall. It's a lot of fun, man. Do you like the movie now, Uncle Bill, or no?
Yeah, I like it a lot more now than I did then because I can like kind of see more so like, I mean, it's in the same tradition as like his classic movies. So for me, it's kind of hard not to like when I compare it to like the shit that he does for the past 10 years. Like it looks and sounds like it's a Kevin Smith movie.
It was a gigantic flop when it came out. Stan Lee, this was the very early cameo, maybe the first time he was in it, playing himself in a movie as a cameo. And this is another interesting fact for you guys. So this was 1995. Stan Lee in 1995 was 73 years old.
What the fuck?
And he just recently passed away. I'm like, holy shit, dude. That guy had to be close to 100 years old or something.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, he's got a good part in the movie though. It's a great cameo. And this was like, definitely, I think if this movie had come out maybe 10 and 12 years later, it probably would have been a bigger hit. Because at this point in time, like comic books and shit like that was kind of dead, right? I mean, there were no comic book movies really around this time.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of that, was he the first guy that really brought that into like popular movies like that? Like, I mean, the whole that whole era of like comic books and collecting and things like that. Was he the first director that really highlighted that? Because I can't remember like anybody else doing that.
Comic books were a big part of a couple of his early movies for sure.
Oh man, let me tell you something. That time period you're talking about around like, not from 92 on through the late 90s. That's when I was buying comic books and shit. That was a huge like boom period for comics, man. That's when the Superman death shit happened. And like,
well, I think that around that time period though, didn't that kill off comic books and shit though? Like right after that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that whole kind of era did, because
didn't they kill Batman or whatever too?
They just got into this habit of like, it became more and more popular because of the Superman thing. So then they started killing everybody, right? But the thing that really killed it was,
and then they started playing Motorhead, "Killed by Death."
Well, the thing that really killed it's what's going to kill physical media, which is like they started having 40 different covers for every fucking comic book, trying to, get all the money from the fans and shit. You had like a holographic cover and a silver color and a direct edition and a regular edition. And people just were finally like, fuck this, man. Like, it just got goofy.
So yeah, anything else you want to say about Mallrats? Because we got to go, bulls. We got to flow through these. We got a lot of fucking movies to talk about.
Well, some of these we ain't going to say a whole lot about, man.
Right. But some of these early ones, I think we want to talk about a little bit. So yeah, Mallrats was a fucking failure. It didn't do anything, right? I don't even think it stayed in theaters that long. So there was really no. We got a super duper chat over here, baby, or it's a super sticker. Was
super
sticker from Kathy Bradshaw. Thank you so much, Kathy. It's J Real's sister. He's got her into checking these live streams out, so it's very cool. Thank you so much. But this one is the only one, this next movie, that I felt safe watching with my wife. And it was a little bit iffy, right? But I mean, it's kind of a love story going on for most of this movie. So I was thinking, well, maybe this is something that she'll kind of halfway like. And I think she did kind of. We're talking about Chasing Amy from 1997. It's another movie that kind of revolves around comic books, but it's kind of like a unconventional love story, Uncle Bill, and a comedy all thrown into one.
I'm going to tell you something right now. After going back and watching pretty much every one of these movies again, this is his best film. To me, the casting is fucking perfect. The atmosphere of it's perfect. Jason Lee is perfect in it as the friend, and like all the stuff that happens. Like, it's just, to me, it's just but and not only like because of all that, but also because like it actually had a pretty good plot and purpose. Like, it wasn't just set up around people hanging out or whatever. There was an actual kind of like message to the film as well. I just think it's his best film.
Jason Lee is great in this movie too. Holy shit.
Yeah. Like, he's perfect.
Some of the stuff that he says and just the timing of it, like I don't want to give it away because I don't know if a lot of people have seen this movie, really. I don't know how easy this movie is to buy anymore, because a lot of Kevin Smith's older movies, for some reason, especially, well, this was another Miramax one, which, yeah, I got it, both. the scene where like the Holden character has the idea of what they need to do or whatever.
Yeah.
And the girl,
Great thing.
and he's like, thank God, or whatever he says,
Yeah.
you know.
Where she's like, don't say it. And he says it, and like, then she flips out on him and like, yeah. He's like, thank God.
But, what do you think of this one, Matt? Chasing Amy.
Yeah, I liked it. I'd probably say I do like Clerks and Mallrats more, but I do like it. I mean, I like Ben Affleck, and Jory Lauren Adams was Kevin Smith's girlfriend at the time, and she's one that kind of disappeared as years went on. You like never really, other than other Kevin Smith films, not even too many after that. This is other than Reboot. This might have been the last time she was in a Kevin Smith film, except for maybe a cameo, but at least in a bigger part.
Yeah, she had that thing like we talk about Jill Schwellen, that kind of she has. It's like the bubbly girl next door that you just like. Like everything that she's in, she's a very likable character.
I think people kept getting her confused with Renee Zellweger or something.
Yeah, something happened there.
She would say, like, people would come up and say, "Hey, Renee," and it's like, "I'm not Renee. I'm not Renee Zellweger." So
I feel bad though, because she's really good in this movie. I mean, she's excellent. And even Ben Affleck is good. I fucking hate Ben Affleck. I mean, most people do now, but like around this time period, he wasn't the Ben Affleck that people like think of now. Like he was actually trying to do shit.
There's also, I think it's this movie. Isn't Matt Damon briefly in this movie? Where they're buddies.
Yeah.
Like I think it's this one, and maybe he might have been in Mallrats too. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, very small role, but basically an extra role. Yeah, kind of an unforgettable ending with this one. Silent Bob's speech is pretty legendary, and that's where they actually get the name of the movie, which I've always remembered that part too. I think Kevin Smith wrote the best, the dialogue in the whole movie for him. But yeah, I mean, this may be my favorite Kevin Smith movie too. But continuing on, since we got to get through these, and I am taking offers on this, by the way. Where's it at? God damn it.
I know what this is going to be.
Look at this shit, bulls. Now this is like worth its weight in gold, right? So throw me some offers.
It really is.
Dogma, and isn't this one, didn't you say they're holding this ransom or something? Like, what's the story with this? Why this isn't out?
The long story short, that was first made with kind of a Disney or subsidiary of Disney, but then the Catholic lead was so mad about it being anti-religious of various forms, so it got pretty much bought by the Weinsteins, Harvey, and he bought it, and then Miramax released it in theaters. I think maybe Dimension or something at home. Miramax or Dimension at home. But now that Harvey Weinstein owns it, pretty much he wants money for it. Probably for his, I don't know, get more food for his fat ass in prison. I don't know. But
he got nothing else to do in prison. Maybe get his butt fucked or whatever.
He's getting commissary with that fucking. Yeah.
He needs more toilet paper for mufflers for his ass.
He'd rather it go in that end than the other, right?
Isn't he supposed to have dementia or some shit that he made up to get out of going to jail?
Good, he deserves it. But it's one of those things where, yeah, Kevin Smith said that I don't really, it's a lot of money to pay for it. Until I guess someone twists his arm. That's Weinstein. You're not going to see that for a while on a home release. Maybe eventually, but not anytime soon. But yeah, that's why that Blu-ray is out of print. It's like $100 at least.
Yeah.
So I'll take $100 for it if anybody's interested in the chat.
$100, he'll rock for your party. Go.
Yeah, we'll rock for your party, boss. Jason Lee is actually in the chat tonight, guys. So we got a little bit of a celebrity in here. So thank you, Jason, for. Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Loved you, Alvin the Chipmunks.
That's what my wife knew him from. She was
Yeah,
like,
I
"Oh,
mean-
he's an Alvin and the Chipmunks, boss."
That's a big deal.
So yeah, I think Dogma may be the very first Kevin Smith movie that I ever saw. I think Uncle Bill was the one that showed it to me, and I was like, "God damn, this movie is fucking insane!" Right? And I was shocked that they had a major studio that was willing to put this movie out for just the content itself.
I mean, I don't, it's hard to imagine this around that time period, but like, it's even more ballsy of a move to have put that movie out when they did, in terms of the content of it, and things. And one of my favorite stories of anything that Kevin Smith's ever done is where he protested this movie himself. And the reporter walks up to him and is like, "Aren't you Kevin Smith, the director?" He's like, "No." He's like, "I get that all the time, but I'm not him," or something like that. And she's like, "Are you sure you're not him?" He's like, "Yeah." It's him and like somebody else. I forget what the fucking sign he held up was, but it was great. Protesting his own fucking movie.
So, I mean, a familiar cast in this one as well. Now, this is the first movie that Matt Damon's given more of a big role in, for a Kevin Smith movie. And, since this time, both of those guys, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, had won Academy Awards and everything. Wasn't it like Good Will Hunting or something like that was the movie? Yep. So they're both pretty much household names. And this was an interesting follow-up to that. Because this is about an anti-Hollywood movie as you could get for a Hollywood movie. Chris Rock is in this. Alanis Morissette plays God in it. People around here was mad at this movie, boys.
It's one of my favorite movies of his, though, man. Like, to be honest, it might be right up there as like second or third or something. I'm not sure, but like, I watched this movie over and over again back then too. It's funny as hell. Like, for one thing, like Jason Mewes, I think he was on coke or something throughout the entire running of this movie. I think that's what Kevin Smith said. So he's like completely like all over the place, like and he's great.
I hate to say it. He was a better actor when he was on drugs. I hate to say it, but
it's true.
Also, though, like, it's interesting, the Blu-ray, like, they had the fucking poop monster on the front cover, like, dead center.
Yeah.
Like, with that, I don't think they could do that today. I don't think that they would. What company did this one? Sony.
Yeah.
Poop
PT,
monster,
if you go back and listen to Kevin Smith, Mewes would oscillate between cocaine and heroin all the time. So, yeah, he was, I guess, one to get him up and one to put him down, like Elvis or something.
But Dogma, I mean, financially, I didn't really look the finances up on this. Was this a big money-making movie? But I'm not sure, but it definitely got Kevin Smith's name out there. I think all the controversy surrounding this movie and the fact that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's follow-up movie
it made 3 times its budget. It was like 10 million. It made like 30 million. So for Kevin Smith, it was definitely the biggest hit at that time. So it worked well enough for him.
And you know who you don't ever hear about anymore, who I thought was a really good actress, is Linda Fiorentino, who's basically the lead in this movie, really. I always thought she was really good, man. And like you never hear anything about her anymore.
I don't know. Maybe really got that big break. And did she ever really have like a huge hit movie though? I don't think she ever did she?
Last Seduction. She was in The Last Seduction and Men in Black.
Men in Black is probably the biggest movie she was ever in, and she had like a smaller part in that. Really, I mean, she was.
From what I understand, she was like hard to deal with. I heard that was maybe that's why, because I know even Kevin Smith wasn't really big on her. He kind of wished he would have cast someone else in the lead. That's why you didn't see her in
That's what the
other
chat's
Kevin Smith
saying
stuff.
too, is that she was a huge bitch. Like, so that probably explains that. Yeah, what
That
happened to her.
makes sense now.
Yep.
You know, all the people that Kevin Smith worked with one time, they're all assholes or bitches. So continuing on. Now, from what I can remember, this is 2001, 2001, something like that. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This was supposed to be the finale for all of the View Askew universe people, right? That's what he had said. He said, this is it. We're going to have one last big movie with all these characters in it and everything, and then I'm moving on to greener pastures.
Yeah, because he said he was tired of cleaning up Jason Mewes from the drugs. So he was like, fine, I'm going to do one big movie, Jay and Silent Bob. You want to get some money. And then, you know, I can't keep cleaning you up with every film we do. And maybe somehow this would jumpstart his rehab. It didn't. I think he just drank alcohol, I think, for this one. Like, I forget which alcohol, vodka or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he has a bit of a different look, sort of alky look. But yeah, you're right. It's meant to be the last one at this point.
I love this movie though, man. Like, it's the perfect, like, stupid ass stoner movie. Like, really, it's right up there with like Half Baked and, you know, How High. Like, a lot of those movies are just stupid. It's pretty ahead of its time though, because it's about them trying to stop Hollywood from making a movie about them. Like, I mean, it's kind of meta in that way.
Yeah, Blunt Man and Chronic movie. They sold the rights or whatever, and they're making a big Hollywood movie with. Who the fuck was it supposed to be playing them? It's hilarious.
It's fucking Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, isn't it? Because like,
no,
it's
James Vanderbeek and
James Vanderbeek and the guy from American Pie.
Jason Biggs.
Jason Biggs.
And that's just fucking great, because these guys in 2001, before everybody else knew they were a joke, right? I mean, they were kind of serious actors still at this point. Dawson's Creek, I think, was still on, wasn't it?
I don't know, but never watched Dawson's Creek.
But yeah, I mean, this was like before everybody started making fun of at least James Vanderbeek, right?
Yeah,
so,
this was when those guys were actually kind of respectable still. I think he's probably doing Varsity Blues around that time. I don't want your life.
Right. Yeah, that was.
So I mean, he was probably still.
Wes Craven and Gus Van Sant have cameos. So I wonder where the Wes Craven what's the story behind that? I know they were in Jay and Silent Bob were also in Scream 3. Were brought in for a cameo. So I wonder how that relationship kind of started, because that's kind of weird.
Because Weinstein was very friendly with Kevin Smith, and from what I understand, he just called Kevin, "Hey, you want to do a cameo?" The same thing with there was this Ninja Turtle movie in 2007 or so, and Kevin Smith has a cameo on that. Harvey Weinstein would just call him, "Hey, you want to do this? You want to do a cameo?" "Okay, sure." Because Kevin Smith said yes to everything back then. So
Craters admit
that's
that
why
he
he
loves
got
Varsity Blues, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? But this movie, though, man, like, there's a couple of scenes in this movie that I still like crack up to. The Click Commander scene, and the fact that Jon Stewart and Will Ferrell are in this fucking movie, like, back at that time too. And also,
there's a ton of cameo like that
Yeah.
become Kevin Smith's thing. Like it was almost annoying how many fucking cameos he starts to put in these movies, and I think it really started hardcore with this one.
Yeah, Judd Nelson. You had
Judd Nelson. I forgot. Yeah, Sean William Scott is the guy with the guitar and shit that gets in there.
Yeah, it's all over this movie.
Scooby Doo. That's a weird ass scene too. The Scooby Doo van.
Scooby Doo.
Well,
yeah,
enough that you can't get sued.
There's a scene too that they recreated.
I've got to flash this one up there. So I do have
where like he's thinking about what was her name? Her character's name. Where
Justice?
Shannon Elizabeth.
Jay is thinking about her, and like he's like humping the air and shit inside the restaurant. It's a great scene.
Yeah, I mean, think of the scenes that he had with Shannon Elizabeth, man. And this was 2001 Shannon Elizabeth. He owes Kevin Smith a lot. That's all I'm gonna say. So, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I think it was a pretty modest hit, right? It did pretty decent at the box office, from what I can recall. A lot of people were talking about it. Had a good buzz about it.
Yeah, it did. I think it had to do well on like DVD or VHS or whatever was out at that time, because I remember everybody had that fucking movie at that time.
Yeah. So continuing on, though, his next movie was really like, I think that he thought that this was going to be his big movie, that this was going to make his career. It was going to be a gigantic hit.
This is where shit.
The studio had a lot of faith in it up to a point, I think. And then they were like reeling. Jersey Girl, boys, from 2004. Romantic comedy. They had, what was it? What did they call them? Bennifer? Is that what they called them back then?
Yeah, this is when that got huge. Like by the time they made this movie, that was already like in full effect.
Well,
and I can't remember. Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, did Geely come out before this?
Right before. I think it was shortly before it.
That's a death kiss, man,
and then,
on this movie.
Not only that, but like the tabloids and stuff, everybody was talking about J-Lo and Ben Affleck. And the entire world got sick to fucking death of them as a couple. Yep. And then they had this movie, a starring vehicle for both of them, that was coming out a few months later. And then, like, I think the whole deal was, which I actually don't mind the movie. I think the movie's pretty good. It's a different sort of movie for Kevin Smith. But, like, the original movie, they redid it, right? Because J-Lo had a much bigger part initially, and they edited a lot of it out due to the Geely thing and the fact that people were getting sick to death of, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez as a couple. So the original cut of that movie was a little bit different. I'm not really sure, how much, but I think that was a big thing, right?
Yeah, the opening was a lot longer. There was a lot more of the two of them together before she dies in childbirth, and then we go to the next part of the movie. And she probably can't remember if maybe she would have a cameo at the end. I don't know what, as a Force ghost. I don't know, but something like that.
Like a Harold Ramis CG version of being there.
I watched this movie. Me and Savannah watched this movie last night, and I just don't like it. Like I was like, maybe it'll be, maybe in time will kind of be good to it, and it'll play out better than the way that it kind of played out when it came out. And it's not like fucking later movies is bad. Yeah, but it's not, it's so sappy and so just Hollywood and generic, and just there's a couple of scenes that you can kind of tell it's a Kevin Smith film, but for the most part, it's like anybody could have made this film.
Generic and bland. I mean, I think it's watchable. I think that little girl's annoying as pot to piss in. I hate that. I think the little girl's
annoying as hell. That was like her only movie, right? Did she do anything else after this?
Oh God!
Thankfully, it was her only movie.
I think it was, yeah, because they had something about discovering her or whatever, however they did it. I remember on the DVD.
They brought her back to where she was discovered. Return to sender.
They let her go like a fish. They just put her back to water.
Just go away.
And this one has Will Smith cameo at the end, right? That one hasn't aged very well.
No. Yeah, because the whole thing is he's a record executive in the beginning of it. And like there's this big Will Smith release party that he fucks up. So yeah, Will Smith is like at the end of the film. But no, you're right. That's an
because originally that was supposed to be Bruce Willis because he's supposed to be working with the movies, and Ben Affleck had worked with Bruce Willis on Armageddon. But I guess Bruce Willis just never answered back or
He's
said
like, nah.
no.
He's like, no.
So they had to change it to Will
I
Smith.
tell you, I just really didn't like any of the characters in this movie either, though. I didn't like Ben Affleck's character in it. I didn't like what's her name, Liv Tyler. I didn't like her fucking character in it. Like the little kid, like you said, was annoying. Like George Carlin was the only decent character in the whole damn movie, and he's not in it that much. I mean, so it's like just a really crappy version of trying to make something like Chasing Amy or something like a.
Well, this one's definitely more run of the mill. Like there's really nothing in it that's crazy memorable or anything. It's really a product of its time. Like I remember, I think it was maybe the TV spot or maybe a trailer where the little girl is setting Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck in there. Like that was a big, and that was not even that. I mean, who gives a shit? Why you include that in a trailer? Like it's not even that funny, you know. But I think that Kevin Smith thought that, man, this is the timing of this, the fact that Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are starring in it. This is going to be the one that makes me. And I mean, had it come out like 8 months earlier or something like that, it could have been a different story. Who knows? But unfortunately, that piece of shit Jelly movie or whatever come out shortly before this one, and it just people got sick to death of that.
It was probably the worst timing. And this is what I said when I said earlier, like a lot of bad luck, a lot of bad break. This is probably the first one where it's like all that came together to basically just make sure that this movie fucking bombed. It didn't deserve to bomb like that. Even though I don't like the movie, it's not that. It didn't deserve to shit the bed like that. It's just okay. I mean, it's an average film.
So 2 years later, boys, he finally makes a Clerks sequel. And I mean, I like the movie Clerks too. I'm not going to shit on the movie itself, but for Kevin Smith as a filmmaker, I think that this was basically saying, okay, I can't do it. I can't take another chance. So let's go back to something that I know will, be a success or whatever. I can't do another Jersey Girl or anything. So he goes back to these characters, which a lot of people at the time were like, how in the fuck can you do this, man? What in the hell are you doing? But the chemistry still worked with those guys. But at the same time, like almost for this entire movie, I was thinking this is desperation, him doing a sequel. What do you guys think?
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, I would say you're right. I mean, the documentary for it is literally called Back to the Well. But I guess the way I look at it is it's the last Kevin Smith film I like or love. After this, I hate all his shit. It all go to hell to me.
Well, spoiler alert, for the rest of the show.
Yeah, because in a weird way, it's like the perfect bookend. It starts with Clerks, it ends with Clerks 2. The way that ended, the way the characters ended, the characters are on a happier note than they were at the end of the first one. The characters you see, like Randall, grow as a person, and then they completely forget about that in Clerks 3, which we'll get to. They just flush that down the toilet.
Yeah.
I like Rosario Dawson. I like her as an actress. It being in a fast food place, I thought was the right environment. I didn't give a rat's ass about the donkey show. I'm like, whatever, just threw that in there. But I like the characters. I like the dialogue, and I thought that is when he should have ended not only his career, but at very least these characters. Like people, I don't know what this is with people not understand. Learn from the ending of the first Rocky. What I mean by that, when you watch the first Rocky, when they filmed it, the ending kept going. And they saw that the audience went like this, but then it went like this. So when you see the first Rocky and it ends on the freeze frame with the hug, they ended that way because that's the highlight. You can't get better. Everything else goes downhill. So many people, whether it be I'm a Rambo fan, the fourth one was a great ending. They make the fifth one, it sucks. So many of these people don't realize, stop milking your franchises, because how many times has that worked out in a positive? Very, very rare. I could barely think of any.
In the last 20
98%.
years, how many? In the last 20 years, dude. Like, seriously. The fucking Terminator movies, the Indiana Jones movies, the Ghostbusters movies, the Jurassic Park movies, Texas Chainsaw, Halloween. Oh.
You said it.
It's true.
Why do they never learn? Like, that's the question. Why, when there's such a pattern that you see everywhere, why does barely anyone learn this?
I don't think they care about the product. I just think they care about like the quick money, the name, you know. So they're willing to destroy the whole kind of, you know, whatever of the franchise or the name just to make a little bit of money, because that's really what matters.
Right.
They definitely done that with Ghostbusters. Like, I can give a fuck if I ever see another Ghostbusters movie or Aliens or fucking any Marvel movie. Like, I give a fuck less about any of that stuff. But Clerks 2 is, in my opinion, it surpasses Clerks in a couple of ways. I think that
what's in color this time?
Well, Randall is probably like, he's in it a lot more. He's like, you know, and he is, again, like, he
burns down the quick stop, right?
Yeah. As does, like, well,
by accident, of course.
By accident, yeah. Elias, the character of Elias and him, like, the chemistry between those two is great. Jay and Silent Bob is great in it. I just think, like you said, Rosario Dawson's amazing. Like, would have been the most perfect kind of like person for him to settle down with had, you know, Clerks 3 not happened. But I agree with everything Matt said, and I think that it's like right up there in the top 4 of his movies. Really, it's insane that it's that good. It has no right to be that good.
Right,
man.
It's a lot better than it should have been.
Yeah.
I mean, that you would think it would be. Yeah, I mean, I had fun with the movie, but every time that I see it on or see it, I'm like, okay, this was his desperation movie. He had to go back to the well, like you were saying. And I'm sure Jason Mewes was excited though. He got to work again after 5 years or whatever. So I mean, had Clerks the story ended there, I would have been fine with it, but it didn't. It's still not over.
There had to be a trilogy, so like there's the Return of the Jedi.
So the next one I did not rewatch, but I remember actually liking the movie quite a bit. And this is was this one that he wrote? Yeah, he was the writer, director, and editor on this one too. Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
This movie ruined his life.
2 different versions of this though, didn't they? In Walmart, didn't they bleep out the porn? Zack and Miri Make something or whatever.
Just called Zack and Miri, yeah.
Or Zack and Miri. But yeah, I mean, from what I can recall, I like this movie, but I have not seen it probably in 10 years or longer.
There's nothing wrong with this movie, but like Matt has said a million times too, and like it bears repeating, like this movie really broke Kevin Smith. It really did. Like,
well, it was a flop too, right? It didn't make any money at all. This was his. Who was the fucking Judd Apatow? Is that his name?
Yeah, the guy that makes all the comedy.
His movies at the time were kind of popular, right?
Not and there were 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah, and there were other movies that were like around this same time period, like Miss March and shit, like kind of vulgar, like teen comedy sort of movies. So I think this is Kevin Smith's attempt to do something like that. He's like, oh, these type of movies are popular, right? Let's make this, we'll call it Zack and Miri Make a Porno. And they had real porn stars in it. I do remember that.
Yep.
Jason Mewes is in it. I think he's pretty fucking hilarious in it, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was on crystal meth at this point, right, Uncle Bill?
I mean, it looks like it. from like what happened
No,
later
he was
on.
clean and sober. From then on, he was clean and sober.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can't believe it. He don't believe it.
But yeah,
So-
to me, it was him. I just didn't feel the passion from him. I think he wanted the copy Judd Apatow because he saw that they made money. And you had films like Role Models, all these movies making like 60, 70 million. He thought it was going to make that. It didn't. So then he baked and waked his mind to oblivion to the point he had barely any brain cells left for the rest of his career except crying at trailers for Marvel movies. That's where the rest of his 2 brain cells went to. Gotta cry another Marvel TV show or trailer or someone with a cosplay or someone with the Superman up his ass or something. Oh, this is beautiful. Fuck Kevin Smith at this point.
It may be the last Kevin Smith movie though that actually even remotely feels like a Kevin Smith movie that, you know, wasn't just a reboot or a remake or something like that. It had Katie Morgan and Tracy Lords were the porn stars in it, and Justin Long is actually good in it, which he's not usually good in these.
They start using him a lot too in these movies. Jesus Christ.
I don't mind it, but you're right. There is
Seth Rogen. I thought Seth Rogen was really annoying.
Yeah, nobody likes Seth Rogen if you think about it, really. He's another one of them guys. I could add him to that fucking list of people that it's just like.
Yeah, he gets popular there and he's in all kinds of these stupid ass movies.
Like, why? Jake Gyllenhaal, Seth Rogen, Tom Cruise can all blow me. But I don't mind this movie.
Tom Cruise is a bit better than Seth Rogen. I'll say that.
I don't know. Is he though?
4th of July.
Is he?
Risky business, baby. Risky business.
Rain Man, come on.
Yeah, Rain Man's a classic. But
Rain Man's a classic because of Dustin Hoffman, not Tom Cruise.
What else is
Tom Cruise? Just
all the right moves, man. All the right moves.
All the right moves. Yeah.
Jerry Maguire.
So before I forget about this, because I did get this ready, and we're right around that same timeline. I think this was 2009, 2010. And a lot of people probably doesn't know this exists. There is an interview where Jay interviews Jay. Jay Real interviews Jason Mewes at the Texas Frightmare Weekend. And this will give you a clear idea that the character of Jay is Jason Mewes. This clip, it's brief. Check it out, boss.
Thank you. Texas Frightmare Weekend 2009. 2 J's at one convention. Take your pick, ladies. Ha ha. I know who they're picking.
I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, but have you ever seen What About Mary? Or what is that called? What About Mary? With the comb. Now look at my man's hair right here. It looks like he's got a little comb in his hair. Now that comb is not from me, but it might have been from another. Maybe it was from the Jason from Friday the 13th.
I only had one beer last night, so I was sober for most of the night.
Thank you very much. I'm going to get away from the sperm far away as I can.
Oh, God. Well, with that in mind, stay tuned. No better way to close this. No better way to close the convention with sperm in my hair and Jason Mewes pointing it out. So, bye-bye.
So Jay had that little laptop thing back then, I guess.
Yeah. It was just going everywhere. Not before. So here's where the part of the show where the shit hits the fan, boys, and it never really lets up after this movie in particular. And God, boys, I have no idea why I have this, but I do on Blu-ray. Cop Out.
No fucking way. No. Just everything about this movie, just no. Just shut anybody in here. If you like this movie, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it. There's no way anybody likes this movie. It's one of the worst pieces of shit.
Tracy Morgan was probably one of the worst Saturday Night Live people in the history of that show. There was only one character that he did that was halfway funny, and that was, do you remember Brian Fellows? Uncle Bill on Saturday Night Live. But
I'm
that was
Brian
funny.
Fellows.
That's funny just because it's so goddamn bad. But Tracy Morgan, I guess this was like right after he left Saturday Night Live. I'm not really sure. God, man, this is unwatchable, really. I think, like, some bad horror movies are fun, but bad comedies, unfunny comedies are no good, and that's what this is.
It's not just Tracy Morgan though, man. Bruce Willis is dog shit in this movie too. Like he don't even look like he knows what's going on, where he's at. Like, I mean, in hindsight, but I don't think what year was this movie made? I don't think this was an issue.
2010.
At that time.
Yeah,
So we're talking 14 years ago. I don't think that was the thing with him. I just think he was literally just like checked out of this movie from beginning to end. Like he didn't give a shit. That's what it looks like to me.
Now, Cop Out wasn't written by Kevin Smith, but he did direct and edit it. It did not feel like a Kevin Smith movie at all, either, from what I can recall. Now, I did not go back and torture myself and rewatch this, but dude, like this was one of those movies that literally 20 minutes into the movie, I remember being like, fuck, this is bad. How did this even get out? Right.
I watched this movie all the way through, unfortunately. But the best thing to come out of this movie is the stand-up material that Kevin Smith got for those evenings with Kevin Smith, where he talks about working with Bruce Willis and like, so there's like the one where he talks about working with Bruce Willis pre this movie when he did, what was it? Live Free or Die Hard, I think, with him.
Yeah.
And then there's the one where he talks about working with him on Cop Out. And it's like, you just need to watch that. That's all I can say.
I do have Cop Out.
Yeah.
And that was actually still on the main shelf in there too, oddly enough. I don't know why, but
you need to throw that away. I don't even know why you would keep
throw it away.
Why would you have it? You ain't never gonna watch it.
I'll throw it away with
wants it. You're never gonna
yoga
watch
hosers.
Yoga
hosers. So
I'll admit that was a film that when I first saw, I fooled myself into liking. I think because I was such a diehard Kevin Smith fan at that point. Even Jersey Girl, I had not hated any of his stuff. I'm the type of guy I would listen to the commentaries multiple times. I'm like, it gotta be good. It's Kevin Smith, it's Bruce Willis, and now we get to direct him. And
like, how could it?
I love buddy cop movies. And then, I fooled myself into liking it. I bought the DVD or Blu-ray. I'm like, this sucks. I hated Tracy Morgan. I mean, just the way he talked, he wouldn't shut up. It was like Chris Tucker on steroids, and it just, it's like, what was the conversation about going to the bathroom? And I took a dump in the bathroom now, and then I'm like,
well, you could just tell, man, that like they just let the cameras roll and tried to like let them improvise, and there's just these long, trying to be funny monologues that just go nowhere, and he kept them in there, and there's too many of those. It's basically the whole movie, and I don't know if he just didn't have a good script or if
they didn't have chemistry either. Like,
no,
that was just a weird combination of people.
I mean, the stories I'm trying to get a baseball card. What kind of story is that? Go find a baseball card. Who gives a shit?
Sean William Scott was like the heel in it. He's the main bad guy in it. Is that right?
I don't remember that. I remember Jason Lee was the son-in-law for Bruce Willis's daughter.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I didn't go back and revisit.
Sean William Scott. By the way, Sean William Scott makes up most of his dialogue in this movie too. Because I don't know what the hell was going on in this movie, man. If he just was like, was improvisation like a big thing at this time period? They were letting like people do that or something in movies, and he just was like,
I think he was.
Right.
He had such a tough time working with Bruce Willis, and I don't think he never dealt with that before. And he was just so in love with Tracy Morgan. he would talk about how he just praised Tracy Morgan, and it's like he just let him do whatever. And he's not really known for action. That's not his wheelhouse.
What did this movie do in theaters, by the way? Anybody know?
Not that well.
I don't have that information in front of me.
There's no way. I think it did better than I thought, though, because I looked it up. Like, it didn't like absolutely shit the bed like I thought. So let's see. On a budget of $30 million.
Oh God.
It made $55 million worldwide.
And that was probably just Bruce Willis's name, right? Maybe
probably
got that much.
I mean, we talked about before, Kevin's not a visual storyteller. The scripts were the star, and then he didn't write the script. And this definitely wasn't the star of this movie. As you know, Kevin Smith, he's not. He's a guy known for directing his own scripts. It's the scripts, and he was over his head. He tried something, he failed.
I mean, yeah, you can clearly tell like he didn't know what the hell to do with this movie, because it's impossible to follow this movie too. Like, I mean, it's got a stupid premise, just like you said, Matt, but like also like they just introduce characters out of nowhere, and like they don't really tie anything together. You don't really get to know anything about any of the characters or why you should hate them or like them or anything like that. Just people come in and out. It's just a bad movie. Like, it's bad directing, bad pacing, bad acting, bad dialogue. It's just a bad overall fucking movie.
But they do steal the music from Fletch. So at least you can listen to Fletch music.
Was this his highest grossing movie? That's what Dick Fitzwill says.
Well, $50 million is $55 million is his highest grossing. It makes sense. It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving right along here, boys. The next year, this was done on a smaller budget, shot in 25 days. It's a horror movie. It had to kind of like a horror survival movie, I guess. Hell, I don't know. Had a little bit of a buzz online, and it got mixed reviews, I think, when it first come out. Did you guys go back and revisit Red State?
Yeah, I watched it the other day.
How does it hold up?
You'll never be able to convince me that this isn't a good movie. Just for Michael Parks and John Goodman alone, this is an outstanding movie, in my opinion.
I thought it sucked ass.
So there you go.
Well,
it was like Michael Parks talked for like 30 minutes. I got so fucking tired of listening to it. And the ending is like not even an ending. It's like we didn't have the budget to film an ending, so just, you know that quote, show don't tell? Tim was like, fuck that. And he just tells the whole ending. And I'm like, it was such a flat fart. Fuck that movie. If people like it, that's fine.
Wasn't this based on like shit. Wasn't this around the time like the crazy, what cult church was it? The Westboro Baptist Church or something like that. Yeah. So it's loosely based on that. And it was he was kind of, you know, poking fun at him a little bit with that. Although, I mean, this is definitely a different approach for a movie for Kevin Smith. But I think at this point he was like, if it was something that he could make money on, he was going to try to do it. You know, was this, or I may be mistaking this with like a Rob Zombie movie. Did he try to do this with fan funding or no?
I don't remember that.
Okay. I may be.
I'm not sure. I mean, you might be right. I just don't remember it. Yeah, there's a whole story about him screening this film for the Westboro Baptist Church in one of those evenings with Kevin Smith. And like I don't remember if he got death threats or they called him. Something happened with that freaked him out with that whole thing.
This is another rare Blu-ray. Is this what he's talking about? How much is this worth?
I can sell that one, yeah.
Give me $100. I don't even remember.
I think that it's an excellent small, but then again, Like I really like siege films, which is basically what this is. The beginning 20 minutes of it are pretty lame, where the kids are trying to get hooked up with the woman that'll eventually like get them kidnapped and taken in there. But like when they're in the church and Michael Parks is in there and all that stuff, like I really do think it's a great. It becomes a great film. I actually think that the ending of it is not as bad. Like I know the planned ending of it was to have the actual like 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and shit like come down, but of course they didn't have the budget for that, so it becomes like just like there was. It turns. I think it works better the fact that it turns out it's nothing except like I think their neighbors like fucking with them or something like that because they hate them, so they're making these trumpet sounds and stuff to convince them that like the second coming is happening. And then
but you don't see
end,
anything. It's just John Goodman just literally just telling the audience this.
Right. But
that was all it just. Yeah, go ahead.
That to me works to some degree just because like the end of the movie is actually Michael Parks in like a jail cell kind of deliriously talking to himself because he thought, that was really the end and that, was going to justify everything that he had done. I don't know. I like it. I think it works for me.
Well, I'm glad you like it, Uncle Boo. I don't recall hating it, but I've only watched it that one time. Michael Parks is a great actor. There's no doubt about that. I like him on almost anything he's in. But I don't remember absolutely loving it. I don't think. But one that I do remember, one that I also just watched one time, and it was the movie that caused me to write off Kevin Smith completely. After I saw this fucking movie, I was like, nope, boys, I'm done. I am done with Kevin Smith. This was, and people were talking about the wake and bake method of filmmaking. This is where it took it to a whole nother level, man. This is like, you remember Hydroponic back in the day, Uncle Bill? This is the movie that he would have fucking made.
The strain of weed or the man?
The man, Hydroponic.
I remember
Joshua.
Yeah.
Big Match Josh. We're talking about Tusk, baby. His other horror movie.
Why do you own Tusk? Like, why do you have any version?
It's a DVD. I don't know. I've got it.
That's crazy to me.
I should like film a video shitting right on top of it because that's what it deserves.
Oh.
This is a movie that you just feel like as it's going on that you're getting dumber and dumber watching it. Like, why am I fucking watching this? But
I'm gonna tell you the truth about this. Like, I've only seen this movie one time that I can recall, and I did not hate it. Real quick, but I saw it when it came out. I didn't watch it again because I just didn't. But I cannot defend this movie either. Like, I can't. Like, I could defend Red State. I cannot defend Tusk. There's no fucking way.
It's hard. What do you think?
I completely understand why people would hate this movie.
Yeah, I'm one of them. He did this movie because he got high on his podcast and he read something, and he came up with this stupid idea. And Justin Long, he plays such a despicable character on purpose, where he has his podcast with Haley Joel Osment that I don't know what happened to him.
I forgot he was in that movie.
Haley Joel Osment looks like he looks like somebody that would be on like one of those pedophile shows or something. Like, what was the guy's name?
He does look like that. Like the Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen. Yeah. Sit down there. We need to have a talk. Haley Joel. Yeah,
and then the podcast they do is like, they saw a video where a guy cut his arm off in like the worst special effect ever. This guy somehow slicing his own arm off. And then Michael Parks talks incessantly. It's like, I love Michael Parks as much as the next guy's an actor, but Kevin Smith really loves the sound of the guy's voice. So he's like, just write incessant monologues for the guy while this guy has sex dreams, whatever, of a damn walrus. And then I'm going to turn you into a walrus. And then how about this movie to turn itself out and just How about Kevin Smith turn himself to a walrus?
Baby, let me tell you what happened with Tusk, if you will. Kevin Smith was inspired by weed and the human centipede, baby. And he wanted to make something that really fucked you up if you're high or not.
Yeah, you want to know what's weird though? Is like Justin Smith just said this. It gets worse after Tusk. Like that's what's fucking weird.
Dude,
like
I
the
don't.
Killer Walrus is not like the worst film he ever did.
It's close. It's
And
very
also-
close.
Johnny Depp's character in the movie
Oh God, yeah, I do
is
remember that.
abysmal. And he would appear in another movie later on.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, his inspector with the thick accent, you can barely understand what he's saying. And none of it was funny. It wasn't scary. It was just stupid. It's a stupid movie. Don't get high on supply.
It sure as fuck is stupid. So, just to let everybody know, though, because we're still going through these, we have a poll up on youtube.com/Deadpit where you can go and vote what movie is Kevin Smith's worst movie. And I can only put 5 options on there, so I tried to pick the 5 worst, which is pretty difficult. But yeah, we're going to be going and tallying those votes up at the end of the show and talking which movie is your least favorite. Speaking of which, next movie, I got this one in a Dollar Tree. It stars the Kevin Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn, and Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter.
Oh my God.
Yoga Hosers. And I'm going to be honest with you. This is the one movie that's on this list that I have never finished. It's almost impossible to finish. It's like the one chip challenge, boss.
It's like
the
it's
Yoga
like back in the
Hoser
day.
challenge.
Like back in the day when you're like, how far can you get through Traces of Death or something before you have to turn it off? Because you asked me like, how far did you make it in this movie? And I'm like, I made it about 30 minutes, and I ain't fucking going any farther into it because it's not getting any better. It's not like it's gonna turn into fucking Citizen Kane.
I put this on, and my wife was in the room because I was like, "Oh, this is safe to watch with her, right?" And she was looking at it, and she was like, "What in the hell are you watching? What is this?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to figure it out. I'm probably going to turn it off here in a little bit." Oh my God,
I did see the whole thing.
What a stupid fucking movie, man. Just like what they were trying to do, and just I'm trying to figure out like how you even talk about this movie, because does it have a plot? I guess like there's the 2 girls are like in a cover band called Glamthrax, which is a fucking Anthrax cover band. Like he's got so much stupid ideas in this movie, man. You just have to shake your head and be like, what the fuck? They work at a convenience store and they are really into, I don't know, finger fucking each other. And
the name of the convenience store, A to Z.
That's the worst part of the movie too. Him just doing nonstop Canadian jokes and Canadian accents.
Sorry about that.
Like,
sorry about that.
That shit ain't funny, man. Like it was funny when South Park did it for like 10 minutes, but like you can't make a whole movie out of that. He gave it hell though.
A $5 million budget though. It's mentioned up
what
there.
was $5 million in this movie? Please tell me. What cost $5 million?
38,000 is what it made.
Yeah,
that's too much.
Wait,
that's too many people, man.
There's got to be some sort of reason this movie was made. Now, somebody had mentioned, maybe it was you, Matt. We were talking the other day. Was this to get his daughter like a SAG card or something, or this was like a vehicle for her? I get the feeling like this is something that he did for her to get get some sort of certifications or something so she could get more work in Hollywood or something.
Just to have an opportunity to make a film for her and for his daughter and for I guess little girls. I don't know why the hell any girls or any guys or any people with a pulse would see this movie, but I mean, aliens would be like, throw this into the sun and burn it. One of the worst
Man,
comedies I've ever seen in my life. One
this
of the worst.
this movie has X-Pac heat for sure.
Yep.
I mean, in every way.
I like
Yoga-
X-Pod. I've made the X-Pod.
It's worse than X-Pac. Yeah, let's think of
It's
who's
got Gene
Barry Horowitz
Snitsky.
heat.
It's got Snitsky heat.
Yoga hosers. What the
Skinner
fuck is
heat.
that? What does that even mean? Yoga hosers.
Well, they
Who
do
gives a
yoga
fuck?
with Justin Long, who's got to be in this movie too,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
hosers like
He's the
Strange
yoga
Brew.
instructor.
Hey, hosers. Hey, you hosers. So yoga
Hey, oh
hosers.
God, I tell you something else about it. I fucking hate too. While we're just talking about it, like how awful it is.
Sure.
You know the thing where when they introduce a new character, like a video game screen
Oh,
thing
God.
comes up,
Instacam.
I want.
The Instacam, yeah.
Oh my God, dude! I want.
That reminds me of Matt Hardy version 1 back in the day on
That's
SmackDown.
exactly what it was.
My
dude.
God. But yeah, anytime a character's introduced, it freeze frames and all this glitter and stuff like on a fake, not Facebook, not Twitter, but whatever, just their details, their lights. It's so obnoxious. It's so irritating. It stops every single time a character enters.
What does Kevin Smith say about this movie? Was there a commentary on it or anything? Or what's his defense for this one?
Did it for his daughter, I guess. I don't think there was a commentary. He kind of stopped doing commentaries to his
I did
movies.
it.
I wonder why.
I did it for The Rock. Who knows?
But
I mean, it ends with the bad guy is Ralph Garman, who one of the 8,000 podcasts he does. And he just does a lot of performances of now he sounds like Al Pacino. Now he sounds like Sylvester Stallone. Now he sounds like Arnold or Adam West for no reason. He just does these impressions for no reason as he's talking about his Nazi bratwurst takeover plan.
Mhm.
For fuck's sake. Apparently his brain did not take the invasion into his body. Apparently it was out of the vicinity when this movie was made. And Johnny Depp's back again to give the worst performance of his career.
wonder if
It's
this
not
was around the
good.
time Amber Heard was shitting on his bed.
Shitting in the bed.
Maybe
Nah, he did it because his daughter got to star in the movie, so he did as a favor apparently.
His daughter is actually probably the best actress in the whole damn movie from what I watched, but you know,
Don't you
everything else is-
don't you dare try to make something good out of this fucking movie. I'm
Well,
gonna tell you right now.
Let's move on. I think that this is Kevin Smith's worst movie, though. in my
It
opinion.
is.
Yeah, and it's just like his daughter with her big nose. Just stick it up. You want to talk about Maggie Gyllenhaal? I think Kevin Smith's daughter has a bit of a worse. With
His
the dip
daughter looks
nose.
like, you know, that fish that has that thing that comes like down from its.
I thought you were going to say a goblin shark.
Swordfish.
Goblin shark. Is that what it is, man? Like
Goblin.
that fish that has
I
that
don't
big
know. I just
fucking
thought of goblin shark.
blobby nose. It is like a goblin something, like a goblin fish or something like that. Yeah, that's what she looks like. But
The goblin
that
from the Tom Cruise film Legends.
that being said, Maggie Gyllenhaal looks like Stewie from Family Guy, like grown into a woman. That big fucking football head.
I think Maggie Gyllenhaal's
Oh,
hot, man. You need to quit talking about her.
If you think Maggie
She looks
Gyllenhaal,
better than Kevin Smith's daughter.
She does look better than Kevin Smith's daughter.
Let's say that.
But
I,
the same
come
year,
on.
though, the same
Come
year,
on.
Harley
I
Quinn
don't know,
Smith.
man.
Harley Quinn Smith is in Kevin Smith's episode of Holidays, which is a horror anthology series.
One quick question. Why would you name your daughter Harley Quinn when Harley Quinn is like some slutty villainess for the Joker, like Joker slut? Why would you name your daughter that? I'm just wondering if someone could answer that.
Yeah, by the time everybody
Like,
knew
that really-
what that was, she probably got made fun of, like crazy in school. But
Oh, you're the name of that Joker slut. Okay, congrats.
They should have named her that, Joker Slut.
Did you guys
Slut Smith.
Holidays though? Did you guys see?
No,
This was a anthology movie based on different holidays, and Kevin Smith's was Halloween. So I was like, well, fuck, it's set around Halloween. It's going to be a horror movie or a little horror short. Let's check it out. It's bound to be good, boys. Bound to be good.
No, I've seen this. No.
Listen to this, Uncle Bill. You'll want to go see this. I wrote this shit down. So his episode of Holidays, Harley Quinn is one of 3 young girls that work at this call, like basically doing like sex calls and shit.
Webcam stuff, yeah.
Webcam, sex calls, whatever you want to call it, peep shows. And their boss, kind of like their pimp or whatever, is always mean to them. He wants, he wants them to make more money and work more. They're wanting the night off and everything. And ultimately, they get revenge on him by shoving a dildo up his ass and hooking it to a car battery. Now, how the fuck that would work, I don't know. I don't know how that would work. But they use that dildo that's up inside of him to torture him and shock him and shit. And that is the movie.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
Well, that's like par for the course for what he was doing around this time.
Hooking up a dildo to a damn car battery, boys.
Yep.
Do you imagine the guy
That's
like acting that scene out? Okay, they're sure. Oh,
It's
God.
probably a lot like that scene in Chocolate where Henry Thomas is getting fucking ghost raped.
He's getting fucked by that Asian guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mick Garris is like, you're taking it right in the ass. Come on.
I'd
Show
love
us.
to have been there for just that one day to hear his direction. Yeah.
They'd probably be like, hey, you seen Yoga Hosers? Imagine watching that and the pain.
Yeah, would you
Now,
rather watch Yoga
now
Hosers again or take a fucking dildo up the ass hooked up to a car battery?
That's a tough
Car
choice,
battery.
yeah.
At least that'd be a more interesting story.
I'd rather
For the
fucking sit
bar.
down on one of them truck hatches, that you hook your boat onto, than try to watch Yoga Hosers again.
You probably enjoy that. Oh, so yeah, that was 2016 Holidays and Yoga Hosers. So he took a couple years off, and
Thank God.
the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, word gets out of that. Did that one come out in movie theaters? Because I don't recall ever seeing it in theaters.
I don't think it did, man. Like, I just remember it going straight to like streaming.
He would do this thing from now on because I think back since Red State, he always was bad about critics. He always cried about critics, even though usually a lot of times critics would like this stuff. Now he would do this show where he would move with the movie. People have to pay like an exorbitant, just a lot of money, and then you get like a Q&A afterwards. So he would do that from now on. Show in a theater, the audience will love it because they paid this much money. They better hope to love it. And then they did a Q&A afterward. That's what Kevin Smith started doing. So I think he did it for that movie as well.
To me, this movie was like what Clerks 2 should have been. Like, it's like what
Should have
happens.
been.
Should have. When I say that, I mean like when you think about like what Clerks 2 should have been
This
pretty
bad.
bad. Yeah.
Oh,
It should have like not
could have
worked.
been.
Yeah. Yeah, could have been is probably a better way to put it. That's kind of what the Jay and Silent Bob reboot is to me. It's like everything that you kind of like probably thought was going to happen in Clerks 2, but didn't. It happens in this movie. Like everybody, first of all, it's depressing to watch because everybody looks so fucking old and just like just washed up. Especially Jason Mewes, man. I can't watch him in these movies with his fucking teeth flying around like that. Like it's something about it that's just so depressing and distracting. That
He looks really bad in this movie in particular. Like, I don't know what was going on with him then or whatever, but yeah, I mean, I think he looks slightly better in the next movie. But yeah, this one, he looked rough. He looked very rough. But I got to say, though, like of all the more recent Kevin Smith movies, Jay and Silent Bob reboot is probably the best one.
Yeah, I mean, like it actually does have a couple of like genuine laughs in it. And it's not completely meritless, but it's
The
it's
end,
bad.
the fucking
still
end of the
bad.
movie too is like, because they have the Iron Bob. I'll just say that. I won't tell you what it is. And I was like, oh, God damn, balls, what in the fuck? But essentially, it is a reboot. It's the same movie as Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. I mean, it's the same plot at least. Cameos galore in this movie. Holy shit, I couldn't write them all down. There was so many. You know, characters from Chase and Amy, they bring back in this. And dude, like, I don't know how old, what's her name?
Jory Lauren Adams?
Yeah. She is not aged well, though. She looks totally different.
You know what the biggest problem with this movie is, though, other than the fact Jason Mewes' like teeth are flying out of his head, is that he cast his fucking daughter as the lead.
Yeah, she has a significant role in this one.
It's like, why? Like, why? I mean, at this point, I guess he's just like, you know, screw it. I'm just gonna
nepotism.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make movies for her because nobody else is gonna do it. So,
Method Man and Red Man is where the fuck they find him at? Where the fuck they find what's her name? Shannon from Saturday Night Live. No,
Molly Shannon.
Molly Shannon. Molly Shannon. Where in the hell they find her at? I haven't seen her in forever.
I don't know.
They found Chris Jericho.
Val Kilmer.
Somebody, since Kevin Smith is streaming right now, somebody should like take the link to this and put chat. Tell him we're doing a retrospective. Who wants to pop in and see?
They don't let you post links on there, unfortunately. But
that's a shame.
Here's the thing with this movie: is like Kevin knows, like deep down, this is bad because you listen to the dialogue. Like, there's a bit where he literally says, like, what kind of broken fucks still want to watch this Jay and Silent Bob BS? And, like, at the end, it's like, you killed your own movie career, and I'm done with Kevin Smith. Like, it's as if he knows, as if he's like, will people buy into this? Oh my God, they actually bought into this. It's like,
I mean, you know,
despite trolling.
Despite the fact that everybody pretty much knows he's incapable of making a film worth shit anymore, like those characters still have like an audience, a small audience nowadays, but like, I mean, an audience of people that will watch that shit no matter what. And for that audience, I feel bad for them.
I think that Kevin Smith has fans, but they're more or less just a fan of his like podcasts and stuff like that. I mean, they'll probably watch his movies.
Yeah.
But I think even the more hardcore Kevin Smith fans will tell you that his recent movies are not very good.
I swear to you.
Oh, man, no, they'll defend it to death.
They will.
Told me that.
I believe that like in the past 10 years, like he's actually better at doing those stand-ups than he is as a director. Like I would 100 times rather watch him do like one of those than I would watch any of these films.
Not anymore. Now he's just like, hey guys.
Well, now he's woke as fuck. But back in the day, yeah.
Or he's crying.
Like you said, now he's crying over what was it? Marvel movies?
Star Wars trailer, Marvel trailer, Flash episodes. Listen, I get that you may get emotional and stuff, but God, you don't need to be crying at every single damn thing. But come on, it ain't that serious, Kevin. You make movies for a living. You watch. Why you a baby bitch? Like why is he such a bitch in heat? Until he get out of the heat and out of the kitchen and get out of my face, and I'll make a movie again. Just retire, please. The sick and tired of his, can't even say fat ass, thin ass, just his sorry ass. Tired of his ass. Get out of my face, dude. God.
What's funny is though,
like Dynamite. God.
He lost all that weight and stuff, but he didn't buy any new clothes, so he's still wearing these clothes that are like gigantic on him. What's the deal with that?
I don't know. Security. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, this movie is like, it's bad, but compared to, his other movies in the past 10 years or so, it's probably the best one of those. But that's not really saying a whole lot. I mean, Chris Jericho's in this fucking movie, man. You can't escape Chris Jericho no matter
There's
where
no
you go.
escaping him. No.
Fucking doing his worst Bruce Dickinson impersonation in concert.
You're like, I just want to turn on like a fucking super hyper gory movie. I'm gonna put on Terrifier 2. Chris Jericho's fucking in it. Like, wow. He's in everything.
I fucking hate Chris Jericho, man. Like, there was one point in time when, like, I really enjoyed his stuff. But God, he just fucking needs to go away. He's got go away heat worse than X-Pac ever had. Like, I just do not want to see him anymore. Do anything. He needs to go retire. He can even go on tour with Fozzy as long as they're not on TV or anything. As long as I don't have to see him.
Him and Paul White need to fucking shut it down. Pack it up. Take the tents down. Raise the stakes up. Get the fuck out of just wrestling. Nobody wants to see either one of those people anymore, man.
He needs to go with a Thigh Master or something. Just he turned to like Chris
Chest
Hero
Master or something. What the fuck happened to his chest, man? It looks like
they actually said that it was I think it was a chop that the Big Show gave him or something like that.
Really?
I think it's what he said, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, like probably 10 years ago, that's what had happened.
Wow.
But made him jiggle too much like Jello.
I fucking hate Chris Jericho. So I guess we can continue on.
Well, there's only one more, really.
Yeah, well, there's two more actually, but the other one, tell us the story behind that, Matt, because you explained it better than anybody could to me. The Kilroy or whatever.
Kilroy was here. So long story short, for those out there who don't know what an NFT is, I could barely explain it either, but Kevin Smith wanted to make a movie. It's in a horror anthology film. Chris Jericho was in that as well as a racist YouTuber. And Kilroy is supposed to be, I think, some graffiti painting from maybe World War II that comes alive. And I don't know the details, just barely anyone has seen the film. Because he released as an NFT.
Right.
And you can't really see it unless you know NFTs work, and then you have to pay like $180 to get it anyway. And why he thought to do that, I have no idea. Although I'm thankful because I don't have to watch it. But
it's not been bootlegged either. That's what I was talking to you about, I think, the other day. Like, it's not on a torrent site or anything. So the movie does exist. Now, there's a few loopholes you have to go in to get it, like, with this cryptocurrency shit or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just the craziest thing, man. I mean, it just tells you what kind of,
This might have been at the height of his just smoking weed constantly phase.
But
isn't he off that now, though? Didn't I hear somebody say something like that? He's not smoking weed anymore?
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Supposedly, yeah. Yeah, I am a bully. Fuck Kevin Smith.
But there's a trailer for it. I think there is a trailer for it online, right? That Kilroy was here.
There is, yeah. His daughter's in it. Chris Jericho's in it. A few others.
Why wouldn't she be?
So the next one was one that I can remember because it was just it was a little bit over a year ago, I think, when it came out. Clerks III. And that was the last one that I watched for this, preparing for this retrospective here. And I had been kind of spoiled on the ending of it, so I kind of knew what was coming. And dude, like, I was thinking this is supposed to be a comedy movie, right? Because the beginning of the movie, the beginning, it's probably the opening, 10 minutes of the movie, Randall has a heart attack, nearly dies. Right?
Yep.
We find out that Rosario Dawson, his, her character from Clerks II, is dead, and their unborn baby died. Dante's still recovering from that. It's probably the biggest downer of a comedy movie that I've ever seen in my life.
He sees her ghost, and I guess her ghost is cheating on him or something.
Yeah, her
She
ghost
keeps
is
talking
fucking a
about
bunch of
Holden.
people in hell or something. Yeah. Ghost Zario. Like, that's one of the most ridiculous fucking things, man, that she just keeps coming along and like talking to him and stuff. But then at first she's like, you got so much to live for, and then eventually she's just like, fuck it. Just
Pretty much.
So, but the Randall character, though, the whole thing is he has escaped this. It was a widowmaker heart attack, the same one that Kevin Smith had, that he survived, had 20% chance of surviving. And he was like, well, I've wasted my whole life really in this store. They're back at the Quick Stop, by the way, somehow. Did they ever explain that? Or did I miss that?
They bought
Yeah.
it at Clerks II. They bought and reopened it, and it's going to be their business now.
Okay, they rebuilt it or whatever.
Yeah.
So his big idea is, well, since I've wasted my life, I want to make a movie about how much I've wasted my life, and we'll just reenact all these moments, and most of them were from the first movie. They recreated a lot of the scenes in the first movie. And then there we go. We're off to the races.
Because apparently their entire life was the first movie. Like, nothing else happened in their life except that first movie.
That one day. Yeah, that one day.
I do think
other parts of life.
That Blu-ray Addict is right, though. It's like some sort of like attempt for him to make a Clerks movie that fits into the narrative of the Hollywood bullshit kind of, stuff that he's into now. It's just like so.
How so?
Because like everything, like in the other two movies, like it was about having fun and and goofing around at work and shit like that. And in this movie, there's all these life fucking lessons, and there's all this woke bullshit, and there's all this fucking, there's got to be meaning and all this stuff. It's like, I suppose he probably thought he was making like a mature film, but what it really just comes across as is just him jerking off, like just jerking himself off, trying to make something heavy-handed and more than he is able to do, really.
This was a very hard watch. I watched this movie at work, and I knew what was going to happen at the end. I was like, what? Why would you make a movie like this? I mean, who likes to watch shit like this? Because I don't care who you are. You've had somebody knows, family member or somebody else that has dealt with this shit in real life. And this is not funny, I don't think. And this is not what Clerks is supposed to be, in my opinion. You can have some drama here and there, but this is a movie that I'll never watch ever again. Like, I have no interest in ever watching it. And hey, the guys in it, Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson stuff, they do a great job in it. They're fine in it, but it's just the material. It was a very difficult watch.
Well, the people that defend it, they say it's deep and heartfelt and emotional. And to me, it was just more annoying, aggravating, and irritating. I mean, I can't think of one moment I laughed at. It was more infuriating, especially if you like the characters.
Mm-hmm.
The message is all confusing because by the end of the movie, it's like, okay, I'm spoiling it. Blame me, folks. You blame me. Dante has a heart attack, and then then all the Clerks II. The story is Randall realizing maybe I should not be as much of a prick I grew a little bit of a heart. I let myself. That's completely out the window as the same writer.
He's like the biggest douchebag prick in this movie, who only like does everything for himself all the way up to the very end, you know, in the way that it ends and everything too. So they basically destroy that character. Like any kind of character arc that he could have had that would have been, you know, a good send away for him is destroyed in this movie. So they destroy two characters, really.
Yeah, when he's in the hospital, you know, they don't know what's going on with him or whatever. Randall's like, "Oh, I got to get back and start working on my movie again. He'll be fine, man. It ain't going to be no."
Yep.
That never. No, nobody fucking does that.
But then they try to make your heart feels like, I gotta show him the movie we made. I don't think he gives a shit. Like he's dying.
Don't they say something like they tell him he starts to finally care about Dante after he knows that he sold his half of the store or something like that to fund them? Let me go grab my MacBook and I want to edit some shit and show him.
The fact it took that, not Dante had this whole rant, rightfully so, on Randall. That didn't change his mind. It was someone going, "Oh yeah, he sold this." That changes it. And it didn't matter because I don't think Dante woke up to see his stupid ass movie. And when you never even see the movie he edited, you see the first movie. And then, like you said, first she's like, you have stuff to live for. And then it's like, nah, give up. Just die. What kind of message is that? What message is that for people like
that's
the
the
movie?
Invasion USA message, Matt. Wake up. It's time to die.
Tell Rostov it's time to die. Apparently. And then it's like he has a force ghost to tell, and then like isn't the final line like he wasn't supposed to be here today?
Oh God. Yeah, they go through with his funeral and everything, and the graveside ceremony. He wasn't supposed to be here today.
I'm positive that Kevin Smith thought this was an amazing ending to this series too. I just know he did. Like after he was done, he was probably like proud as punch. This fucking movie.
It's heartbreaking.
And he wants to do a fourth film. A fourth Clerks.
Oh, I'm good.
Lord help us. So we're going to go back to the YouTube page. We had a total of 230 votes on which movie was the worst Kevin Smith movie. At number one, by far, with 50% of the vote, Yoga Hosers.
Yeah.
But number two, and this is interesting because all these are kind of close. Clerks III was the number two worst movie. Cop Out, number three, and Tusk and Jay and Silent Bob are tied. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot are tied for number four.
That list, yeah, I kind of agree with that.
So, but once we got through it in a 2-hour time, I can't believe it, because we spent about the first half hour just on like the first couple of movies. So, but yeah, overall as a career, Kevin Smith, it's a strange one, man. Mm-hmm. And do you think that there's any chance in the next few years that he could redeem himself at all? Is there any hope at all?
Well, the idea that he's off the drugs might help. But I mean, it's hard to say, man. How long has it been since he made a good movie? If you go by the last one that I actually liked, we're going back, let's see, whenever fucking Red State came out.
2011.
So it's been 13 years since he made a decent, but I don't know. Do you come back from that and just put out a fucking banger? I don't know.
I don't think so, because Kevin Smith has an echo chamber of a big group of people that thinks everything he touches turns to gold. And now he's in the Hollywood where everyone these folks love him because he likes to do all these podcasts, all these channels, all these YouTube videos where he pimps and promotes every superhero movie, every comic book movie.
That's another thing too, Matt. You're right though. When he started getting into all that with the comic book store and all, and that's another part of it that I don't like either. Like, because he really became a shield for all that.
Yeah, he's a different guy. I mean, so be it. That's his choice. But I would say this for an interesting experiment for anyone after the show. Watch an old interview with Kevin Smith or the first evening with Kevin Smith. Just look at his cadence, the way he talks to people, the way he talks to the audience. Where if you watch the first evening with Kevin Smith, the guy here, he's calm. He talks like a regular person. When he does an interview now, he's very animated. It's like he's playing a character, a caricature. The old Kevin Smith would make fun of the new Kevin Smith. The old Kevin Smith, they would talk about how much of a fool the new Kevin Smith is. With his bug eyes and his hands going up, is a completely different person. And that's the guy he wants to be, so be it. I don't have to enjoy his journey anymore. He can have it.
You don't want to enjoy his journey with him.
Evidently, though, look, if you go on IMDb, Moose Jaws is still on there.
Yeah, he's supposed to be working on that, isn't he?
Like, it's in development. In production is Twilight of the Mallrats. It's what it says, at least. So,
yeah, he's been wanting to do that, but Universal is kind of not let him so far since they had Mallrats.
Shit, why would they?
He wanted to do like a show on it.
Like what in the past 15 years has shown them that he can make any kind of like decent fucking movie or make money or anything?
He has a diehard audience that will love everything he does, and I think as long as that audience keeps going, if you give him a certain amount of budget, he'll make a profit each time with the way he does.
He's loaded. He's got, he's got all he needs, so he's not really. And he's probably makes enough off these podcast shows, and he's got his own movie theater and everything, at screen stuff. So he has no reason or want to really make any good movies anymore, I don't guess. I don't think he's capable, though. Like, I just think, like, after a point in time, it happens a lot with bands and stuff, too. Like, they get on a roll for a few years, great album after great album after great album, but at some point, they just, they fall off. And this is a major fall, though, man. Like, at one point in time, and I think Uncle Bill mentioned this, he was kind of right up there with almost like Tarantino or something like that. People were like,
it's just ridiculous.
Excited.
Man. Like, even if you're like a huge fan of his and you love his movies and stuff, if you can't objectively look at these movies that he's put out over the last 10 fucking years and see how shitty they are and like see how like just completely different they are and a fall from grace that he's had just as him as a person too. If you can't see those things, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean, I suppose there's some people that will just believe and see whatever they want to see, but these movies suck ass. They're a complete, like, just shadow of the type of films that he used to make. And God bless you if you still like him, but you've got to be smoking more weed than he ever thought about fucking smoking to like this shit.
Toxic positivity, yeah. But yeah, man, it's been fun. We appreciate everybody in the chat and everything. The chat has been crazy busy the whole night, and I'm sorry we haven't really kept up with it too much. Michael Rajpal got us a Canadian 275, boys. Woo!
Shit.
That Kevin Smith aged out.
I'm sorry that we talked about yoga hosers, Michael Rajpal. He is Canadian after all.
Sorry about that.
We all had the same idea at the same fucking time.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Matt, what you got coming up on your channel, man? I know you're always uploading stuff on a daily basis, seems like.
Yeah, same old, same old. Reviews coming up for films like Malibu Shark Attack, Or
Yeah.
Snake Eater 2, The Drug Buster.
You have to go back and look at which ones you're like, I can't remember, boss.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, Snake Eater 2, The Drug Buster, where Lorenzo Lamas has a wheelchair fight on a rooftop with another guy in a wheelchair,
hell yeah.
while
Yeah,
Horseshack,
yeah.
the local
That's better
fighter,
than,
is cheering
better-
along.
Better than wheelchair basketball, boys.
So,
Next thing we've got coming up is we're doing the Exploit Nation show, Uncle Bill. Tell everybody about that, because I've been trying to catch up on some of these movies, and fuck, man. Jim Wynorski, that's another guy that has to be smoking some great amounts of weed back in the day.
Yeah, I would say that's fairly accurate. So on Sunday night at 10 p.m., we are going to do the Sword and Sorcery movies for Exploit Nation, which includes the Beastmaster, which includes Barbarians with the Barbarian Brothers. It includes Red Sonja with Arnold, and also includes Deathstalker 2. That's the Jim Wynorski film that you're referencing to. Which, by the way, I was noticing probably has the best overall poster for any
It's not
Sword and
accurate for the
Sorcery
movie,
film.
though.
It has nothing to do with the movie, but the poster is amazing. Yeah.
They should have called that movie Swords and Titties. It should have been the name of it.
That's our movie if we make a movie like this.
We're going to make a
Swords
sword and sword.
Titties.
well, I mean, that's appropriate because they're doing a remake now of Deathstalker.
They are, yeah. I saw that where
Guy
somebody
who
was
did
lined up.
Psycho Gorman is doing it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got that coming up. There's a big Vinegar Syndrome sale that's a week from tonight, like a pre-sale. So that's going to be a huge show. And Mark Burton, we want to welcome him. Brand new baller and shot caller, boys. We got all 4 spots taken up again. So thank you, Mark. And I think that's about it, right? Anything else you guys wanted to mention on here?
No.
No.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight and everything. And hey, this is not horror, so this is kind of out of our what they call it, wheelhouse usually, Uncle Bill. But hopefully, this is a request from Carta. I think we did okay. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. But we appreciate everybody tuning into the chat. Matt, it's always good having you on here. We will have to do it again soon. And Uncle Bill, won't you lick my ass?
Buddy, fuck you. You come over here and tongue bathe my balls.
Look, boys, I'm going to pour some Grey Poupon on my butt crack. And I want you to go, blah, 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 blah.
Sponsored by Manscaped.
Yeah.
Shit.
You know, I
Smooth
wonder
balls,
why we
smooth ass,
don't
get Manscaped.
have any sponsors now that I think about it.
Probably because we
can't-
say shit like
I
that.
can't imagine. Yeah.
We'll catch you guys next
But hey,
time
if you
over. Go ahead, what?
Yeah, go ahead. I was saying, if you want your ass eaten, need Manscaped. That'd be a good advertisement. For all you need your ass eaten.
You got to be,
Don't like
yeah.
that pesky hair in your mouth.
Yeah,
Manscaped will do you.
Nobody
Bald-
likes spitting those little ass hairs out.
Oh,
the ball
God.
deodorant. Ball deodorant will help matters. That's a good way to end it.
Deadpit.com. Give us the thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a fuck.
I want you to. I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last South on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Deadpit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Deadpit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows, fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Deadpit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.